The announcement arrived with the weight of a global siren. The United Nations had officially activated its Planetary Defense Framework, designating the interstellar visitor 3I Atlas as the focus of a full-scale IAWN observing exercise. The timing was impossible to ignore. Just hours earlier, amateur astronomers across the world had released a new wave of startling images, sharper, more detailed, and more perplexing than anything captured before. Some showed a strange, elongated core. Others revealed sunward jets, tightly collimated and unnaturally symmetrical. One image, taken by Paul Craggs and shared widely on social media, ignited digital wildfire. The object's luminous center looked less like a snowy, dusty comet and more like a metallic cylindrical craft adrift in deep space. Suddenly, the UN's abrupt activation of planetary defenses, typically reserved for hazardous asteroids, seemed less like routine preparation and more like a reaction, a response, or perhaps a confirmation. What exactly had the world's space agencies seen in these images that prompted such a decisive global move? In the days leading to the UN announcement, the community of amateur observers had grown uneasy. Their telescopes captured features that defied the established expectations for a natural comet. 3I Atlas showed a brilliant central spine, sharp enough to resemble structure. It exhibited an anti-tail, a narrow jet pointed sunward that didn't behave like a plume of dust blown by solar wind. In fact, the jet was so linear, so focused, that many observers questioned whether sublimation alone could explain it. That unease deepened when Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb published a set of images taken from November 22 to 24. The photographs and data plots highlighted a spectrum leaning bluer than sunlight, a strange brightening near perihelion that outpaced all predictions, and a subtle but persistent non-gravitational acceleration that didn't align with traditional cometary models. It wasn't merely unusual, it was anomalous, and anomalies have a way of attracting attention. With the Paul Craggs photos circulating widely, showing a glowing blue object with a central bar almost reminiscent of a vessel rather than a nucleus, the public began asking questions that the scientific community wasn't yet prepared to answer. Was 3I Atlas really a comet, or was it something else? The tweet accompanying the image brazenly labeled it a mothership, insisting NASA's silence was no longer coincidence but intent. The claim was sensational, yet the photo's geometry and intensity made it harder to dismiss outright. Something about the object looked engineered, or at least organized, in a way that challenged natural explanations. And in that atmosphere of rising speculation, the UN's activation of planetary defense protocols felt like adding oxygen to a smoldering fire. Officially, the UN's reason was simple. 3I Atlas, being only the third confirmed interstellar object to enter our solar system, presented a unique scientific opportunity. The IAWN, a network mandated to coordinate planetary defense observations, identified it as an ideal candidate for the 8th global tracking exercise. The stated goal was to refine detection algorithms, test international coordination, and study unpredictable comet behavior. But questions persisted. Previous exercises were typically tied to scenarios involving potential hazards. 3I Atlas, according to the UN, posed no confirmed threat. So why the urgency? Why act immediately after the newest images went public? And why structure the exercise around a months-long global monitoring window when such drills usually simulate hypothetical impact events, not actual celestial objects? Some scientists believe the answer may lie in the commentary of Avi Loeb, who openly discussed the possibility that 3I Atlas could be of artificial origin. Loeb, who previously argued that Oumuamua displayed characteristics inconsistent with natural bodies, approached 3I Atlas with the same analytical scrutiny. He wasn't claiming certainty, he was highlighting deviations. The non-gravitational acceleration of 3I Atlas was stronger and more consistent than models predicted. The mass estimates suggested it was orders of magnitude larger than prior interstellar objects, yet its surface activity didn't match that mass. The spectral signatures hinted at unusually high nickel concentrations, far exceeding anything observed in typical comets. And the jet morphology, the narrow, sunward anti-tail, seemed more like directed exhaust than a plume of evaporating ice. Loeb posed a question that resonated far beyond academic circles. If an object displays persistent thrust without adequate sublimation, could that thrust be intentional? His most controversial point involved the object's projected path near Jupiter. The trajectory intersected almost perfectly with Jupiter's Hill sphere, a zone where gravitational interactions can redirect or capture incoming objects. Such precision is possible naturally, but it is statistically rare. To Loeb, it raised at least the possibility that 3I Atlas was navigating or being guided toward a gravitational checkpoint. In interstellar terms, that is not unlike a spacecraft using a slingshot maneuver to adjust course. Loeb's analysis carried weight because it stayed rooted in data, precise measurements, physical inconsistencies, and behaviors that did not align with the standard comet playbook. His breakdown highlighted directional jets that looked more like controlled thrust, an elongated central form suggesting structure rather than natural irregularity, and a steady non-gravitational acceleration without the mass loss expected from outgassing. When such observations are presented not as speculation, but as empirical contradictions, they demand attention at the highest levels. NASA, ESA, and the UN responded with notable restraint. Their official updates were minimal, focusing on orbital tracking and procedural language. Yet the silence surrounding the object's stranger characteristics spoke louder than any press release. What made the situation even striking was the timing. The UN's planetary defense activation came almost immediately after the newest images circulated online, including the viral photo that appeared to show a structured, luminous core. It felt less like a coincidence and more like a signal that the agencies had seen enough to justify heightened readiness. If an object behaves unpredictably or simply outside the boundaries of known natural physics, the responsible course of action is coordinated monitoring, synchronized telescopes, real-time tracking, shared data streams across continents. That is precisely what the UN initiated. Though framed as a routine global exercise, the context suggested urgency. This wasn't a simulation. It was a real interstellar visitor with real anomalies, and activating the full planetary defense network ensured that every shift in its behavior would be recorded. The anomalies themselves formed a list long enough to raise eyebrows even among skeptics. The antitail's brightness and focus contradicted standard explanations. The persistent acceleration did not fluctuate the way outgassing-driven thrust normally would. The nucleus, or what appeared to be one, lacked the irregular shape typical of comets. Instead, several images portrayed it as elongated and uniform. Spectral readings suggested uncommon material composition, including nickel-rich regions, inconsistent with known cometary makeup. The perihelion brightening followed no natural curve, instead appearing as if it were powered up, intensified by forces beneath the surface or from within. Individually, these could be quirks. Collectively, they formed a pattern that grew more difficult to explain away, and patterns in the realm of science often demand new hypotheses. It's here that the question lurking beneath the surface finally emerges. Could the UN and the world's leading space agencies be preparing not for a comet flyby, but for an encounter with something intelligently designed. The phrase planetary defense conjures images of asteroid impacts, but the same infrastructure, early detection networks, observational protocols, and international communication systems would be essential in the event of extraterrestrial contact. Even benign, even if merely observational, a controlled interstellar craft entering our solar system would represent the most significant event in human history. Preparation would be essential. Silence, arguably, would be inevitable. And so the world finds itself suspended between official statements and unofficial evidence. On one hand, 3I Atlas could be the most peculiar comet ever discovered, an icy relic from a distant system behaving unpredictably under solar stress. On the other, it could be a probe, a scout, or a relic of an advanced civilization, engineered to travel between stars using physics we are only beginning to recognize. Both scenarios are extraordinary, both require observation, both justify caution. As 3I Atlas continues its approach, the global network of telescopes, professional and amateur, remains locked onto it. Every new image, every new spectrum, every subtle shift in brightness deepens the mystery. The UN's Planetary Defense Activation, officially mundane but contextually charged, hangs like a shadow over every update. The world waits for answers, unsure whether it is witnessing a scientific milestone, a planetary defense drill, or the early stages of something far more profound. What is certain is that the coming weeks will reveal more than data. They will test our readiness, our perception, and our willingness to confront possibilities long dismissed as science fiction. Either 3I Atlas will be remembered as the strangest comet ever recorded, an interstellar oddity rewriting models and theories, or it will mark the moment humanity's story expanded beyond its homeworld. The skies are watching, the nations are preparing, and somewhere in the darkness of interstellar space, 3I Atlas continues its silent, steady journey toward us, carrying secrets we are only now beginning to uncover.